I went to university in a small town, less than 5,000 people. The majority of the population is made up of students, but of course there are also locals. I never had a problem with any of the locals before, but they could be a tad strange. So about 7 months ago, I was at the grocery store around 6 p.m. buying food for dinner. I was in the dairy aisle looking for cottage cheese. We were making lasagna. When, from behind me, this man asked me why I was buying cottage cheese. I turned around, and there was a man standing there, probably in his late 40s, early 50s, with long greasy ponytail and dirty clothes. Something about him made me feel uncomfortable. However, I'm very polite and a little too nice, so I engaged in the conversation with him. "I'm making lasagna tonight and the recipe calls for it." "I'm a professional chef. Let me tell you that you should not be using cottage cheese. You should be using ricotta," he says. So I said thanks for the advice and picked up the ricotta. I was about to walk away when he continued conversation. He was going on about really weird things, like how he used to have a white tiger as a pet. I thought he was delusional, and how he makes homemade hot sauce out of his house. At this point, I had probably been standing there listening to him for 20 minutes. "Do you like hot sauce?" Yeah, sometimes." "You should come to my place and make hot sauce with me. I just live up the mountain." "No thanks. It's okay." The man starts getting really pushy and trying to persuade me to go to his house. Finally, this woman who was overhearing our weird conversation and who could see I was getting very unnerved said it was time for him to be on his way. He then proceeds to give me his business card, which I may add was clearly homemade on regular printer paper and cut with scissors. He tells me to call him whenever I want to make hot sauce or have a drink. He went to the cashier to pay for his stuff, and I watched to make sure he left before going to pay for my things. When I walked out of the grocery store, he was standing outside waiting for me. Now I'm really freaked out and have a good 15-minute walk ahead of me. He asked me how I was getting home, and I didn't want to say I was walking, so I told him I was going to catch a cab. "We'll share a cab." "No, just share a cab with me." He was starting to get angry, so I flagged down a cab and I jumped in. He tries to get in the back, but I tell the cab driver that I don't know this man and I don't want him sharing a cab with me, so he tells him to get lost. As we are driving away, I can hear him yell, "Fucking bitch!" I'm pretty shaken at this point. The cab driver drops me off at my house. When I get out, I see a car with the creepy man from the grocery store in it parked 2 houses down. He not only followed me to my house, but also had a car of his own. There was no reason for him to want to take a taxi with me. Now I was super scared and hurried inside. Thank God my 2 other roommates were both home. I told them everything that happened. One of my roommate's boyfriends was on his way over, so we decided to wait for him to get there before we did anything else. He just stayed there in his car watching our house for a good 15 minutes. When he saw my friend's boyfriend show up, he drove away, and I never saw him since. I then remembered that he gave me his business card, and I wanted to look him up online. First of all, the business card was for some photoshopping company, not chef. I typed the name and business into Google, and nothing came up. His name did not exist, and the company didn't exist either. I reported this incident to the police, but they said there was not much they could do since he didn't technically do anything. I'm not sure if this is related or not, but I have a gut feeling it was. Less than a week later, my roommates had class at 8:30 a.m., and I was still sleeping since I didn't have class until noon. I guess whoever last left forgot to lock the door. About an hour after they left, I woke up to the front door being closed. Thinking it was just one of my roommates, I thought the door would have been locked, so whoever it was would have needed a key. I just stayed in bed. I heard someone go into my roommate's room right next to mine, thinking it was her, and then a few moments later I hear someone try my door. I lock it when I sleep at night, and knock. But I was so tired I didn't want to get up and open it, so I just pretended to be asleep. Well, thank God for that. because none of my roommates were home and it was actually an intruder. I heard whoever it was leave through the back door, which I thought was weird, so I got up and got dressed, and when I went out, no one was there. But turns out whoever it was stole my roommate's laptop and a picture we have in our living room of us 4 girls. Creepy. I reported all this to the police but never really heard anything back of it. I had lots of trouble sleeping and feeling safe in my own house after this incident. To this day, this experience creeps me out, and I don't want to imagine what would have happened if I opened my bedroom door to whoever was knocking. When I was younger, my mom and I used to ride bikes around my neighborhood together. One day, we decided to pick up some stuff at the local grocery store. When I was walking down the aisle, a man approached my mom and I. He was tall and bald. I can't remember much about his appearance. I was about 13 years old. He asked my mom if she had any other children, to which she replied yes, my brother of 4 at the time. However, keep in mind, all she said was she had a 4-year-old. Anyhow, the man gave her some business cards and told me to have a nice day. He seemed incredibly nice in my opinion. About a week later, my mom and I were at the store again, and yes, we rode bike there. The man was there, but he was walking around with an empty shopping cart. He called out to my mom, but my mom kept nudging me to leave. "Elizabeth, wait!" he yelled. He approached us and asked how Sebastian, my brother, was. My mom said he was fine, but we were in a hurry, so she told him we had to leave. She had a panicked look on her face when we got outside, so I asked her what was wrong. She told me that she never told him my brother's name. That's when things started getting weird. Later that night, we went back to the store in a car this time. It was raining, but we never got to buy anything either, because we left. When we got there, the man was still there. He was still walking around with an empty shopping cart. My mom was creeped out, so she told me we'd come back in the morning. When we got to the car, it was freezing, so while we were waiting for the car to heat up, someone knocked on the car window. It was the man. I started screaming, and my mom put the car in reverse. When she reversed, the man ran in front of the car. She lowered her window a bit and told him to leave. "I just want to talk to you," he would shout, but my mom just drove around him. Finally, the next morning, we decided to go back to the store. We walked there. When we got there, the strange man was there. My mom went up to a security guard and told him everything. The security guard said he'd noticed the man a while back and has been waiting for someone to make a formal complaint. He said he knew exactly who the man was. It turns out he was just released from a mental hospital and his son was in jail for rape. He told us that he always comes to hit on women and stays there all day without ever buying anything. The officer then made a call and told us he'd watch out for the man to make sure he didn't follow us out. When we were crossing the street out of the grocery store parking lot, about 7 cop cars showed up and pulled out in front of the grocery store. The next time we went to the store, my mom asked the security guard what had happened, and he told us the man was taken into custody. Apparently, they had a warrant for his arrest, and he had a stolen gun on his person.